NASA recently released figures that September was the warmest September since records have been kept. Now, of course, those records run back to about 1880. So the warmest September since 1880. And the warmest 6-month collective period since they started keeping records. According to two prominent GOP non-scientists, climate change is not a thing. Doesn't exist. Now first we go to Paul Ryan, who was debating Rob Zerbin for his seat in Wisconsin. During that debate, the moderator asked them both if they thought that human activity was to blame for changes to the climate. Zerbin, who was a Democrat, supposedly pro-business, said, well, of course, climate change is serious and man-made, but it's also an opportunity to invest in renewable energy. A good answer. However, Paul Ryan was like, quote, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think science does either. Now science, or I should say scientists, actually do have an answer to that. And to find out that answer, maybe you should ask one. Or, maybe look into the many peer-reviewed papers, journals, and studies on climate change. Furthermore, Paul Ryan said that efforts to fight climate change are, quote, costly and unproven. So let's get to that. Costly. Are they costly? Yes. Sure. When you have an issue as far-reaching and as important as climate change, and with the consequences that are as far-reaching and important as climate change, it's going to cost you money to fix it. It is. It's going to cost you money. There's no way around that. Because it's not like there's some sort of Staples-style easy button that you can just hit for this type of thing. There is no easy button. Okay? It's going to take time, it's going to take money, and it's going to take a lot of effort. As far as unproven, well, here's an idea. Why don't we do some investment? A little bit of investment maybe could prove those technologies. Can prove that those technologies will meet America's energy needs, as well as cut carbon pollution. But of course, that's not what he's advocating. No, of course not. You see, Paul Ryan just wants to throw up his hands and go, oh well, it's not my problem. We can't really do anything about it. Also Jesus and jobs. Jobs and Jesus. So that's Paul Ryan. Well, what about Mitch McConnell? Well, in a debate with Allison Lundergan Grimes, McConnell had talked about climate change as well. He said, quote, there's a bunch of scientists who feel this is a problem and maybe we can do something about CO2 emissions. Oh, okay. Continue. Quote, but the job of the U.S. Senator from Kentucky is to fight for coal jobs in our state. Yeah. Well, that's unsurprising. Furthermore, he decided to bring non-scientist George Will into this discussion by saying, quote, George Will, the columnist, wrote recently back that in the 1970s, a lot of scientists thought we were moving towards an ice age. Well, he's not 100% wrong, I guess, because there were some cooling trends back in the day, and some scientists, around 10% of those, were predicting some cooling. Yep. I wouldn't say that it's a lot of scientists, but some? 10%? Now, in addition to being mostly wrong, George Will, and by extension Mitch McConnell, also failed to understand the scientific process. You see, when those scientific studies predicted cooling, it was from 1965 to 1979, when there weren't really all that many studies done in the first place. And even the majority of them that were done definitely predicted warming. Only 10% predicted cooling. And now they even have more data on climate change. 30 plus years of data and thousands of studies and papers. And of course, the data is overwhelming. Because you see, in the scientific method, you continue to question your findings and search for more and more pieces of data to back you up or to prove you wrong. And scientific consensus means that even though you continue to look for more data to disprove yourself, the overwhelming amount of evidence found to the contrary validates your claim. Remember, science is about trying to test, to observe. If it doesn't work, you throw it out. If the data didn't support it, that's exactly what you would do. You would throw it out. Kind of like Andrew Wakefield in his study on vaccines and autism. It was tossed out because his assumptions didn't match testable data. However, climate change, all the data backs it up. So you can't toss it out. And data that says that, oh, carbon doesn't do anything to the atmosphere, doesn't cause climate change, that doesn't match the data, and that's been tossed out. And so this is the thing that irritates scientists. When non-scientists in the political sphere say things like, quote, I'm not a scientist, and then go on to make an untrue scientific statement, such as, I don't think science has the answer to that question. Well, how do you know for sure? Why don't you actually ask a scientist? Or at least acknowledge the data that they've published on the subject. But of course, they're not going to do that because their entire point is to muddy the water. They can make money for their business friends. The coal industry. Once again, the job, you heard it from Mitch McConnell, the job of a U.S. Senator is to protect Kentucky coal jobs. And that means lying about climate change or not admitting to climate change. It's about trying to protect interests that are entrenched, moneyed interests that are entrenched. And to do that, they'll deny and they'll lie, mislead the public in order to keep that money flowing. It's all about the money.